They're changing rapidly, and I think that we have to be flexible in not only our viewpoints but our approaches. Really a very interesting time. There are numerous aspects to this and layers. It's very layered. It's not something that's just straightforward. And I'll say it once again, you are creating your own world. You have the control over where you put your attention and what you concentrate on. Allow yourself to be inspired by this. Take it on, take your life on as an adventure. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Reflection Connection podcast. I'm your host, Vince Jameson. So today we have a really interesting conversation. I want to speak about something that I've been observing, and I want to create this and share this in a really empowering way. So today is episode 10. And it's entitled Co-Creating Your World the Way You Want to See It. And so with that, what I want to get into today is the conversation of a couple of different things. One is something that I've been touching upon, and I just feel really called to kind of stay with it, which is that we create our world, and your world is what you experience in all aspects. And that's going to differ from my world in all aspects. Even if we are side by side, I'll be running my experiences through my filters and having my own result, my own meaning that I'm making it. That is how, in a sense, we are, as I touched upon before, looking at this as like a holographic universe. And so we are holograms of the whole. We have the whole within us, as above, so below. It's also, in a sense, how the universe, or what some people would term God, experiences itself by splitting off in all of these different pieces and having every possibly conceived experience and intricacy. Some people might hear this in a different way from how I mean it, and so I'll try to be clear in my perspective. Where I live, in my world, right, in my bubble even, I've heard of certain things going on in the world. I hear that there are wars in the distance and other aspects of turmoil and strife and what have you. And I hold a space for that to turn around and healing for the land and for the people. I choose not to delve into the details, and I'm actually not drawn to. And often I'm surprised when further details come my way. And they usually, if they do, it's long after it's done. And this has been a consistent pattern for a really long time. If you are choosing to have a different type of experience, then that is your perspective and your prerogative, of course. I'm not trying to shift what you believe in, per se. I'm just offering another perspective. So, where I live, it's a beautiful day. And there's a nest of birds down the block that I've been observing, ospreys. And I've watched recently from a distance, of course, because they're high up. The eggs have hatched and I hear them, and the parent birds are bringing fish into the nest, and it's this big, beautiful nest, and it's really nice. And the trees are blooming, and spring is upon us, and the light has changed, and the clock has changed, and the temperature has changed, and it's furthering the cycle of life, right? This wheel of time of the year. And there are different aspects that are going on. And there are different personal things, and there are different environmental things, and there are things that I choose to get involved with, and things that I choose not to. Something that's come up for me, which I wanted to share, I do like and enjoy Bashar. I feel that what comes through, I really resonate with for the most part. There were a couple of things in the past, especially around election time, that I didn't love, but for the most part, I resonate with a lot of what he says. And one of the things that he's spoken about for a long time is that we'll be living in different worlds, and they'll almost be like a glass plane that's in between us, from some people who are holding one vibration versus the majority of people who are holding another. And so you can see them, but you're not experiencing them. And I've heard this numerous times, and I've heard this from a lot of different sources as well. This kind of splitting of the earth, splitting of the polarization of people. And one of the things that came to me recently was I have my experience, and then I'm hearing about other experiences in the world through glass. I'm seeing, but I'm not in contact with them. I'm seeing this whole other reality that other people are creating, that they're choosing to create and exist in, but I'm not experiencing it. And there are aspects that I see that I can choose to engage in, and other aspects that I see that I choose to not engage in, not get caught up in, not fuel. And it's sticky sometimes, right? Everyone, I think, has gone through a rabbit hole or two, or, had the experience of doom scrolling. One of the things that I find really interesting is, which has become apparent, it's been spoken about for a long time, but the rise of AI, which I think is overall helpful, but like anything that comes out, there are those people who choose to create trouble and muck and, will use things to their advantage. But there was a conversation I remember even a few years ago that it's getting to the point where we're not going to know what's real. And what I'm wondering is if a large portion of it is not real. And I'm not talking about fake news as in he who I'll choose not to name, but I'm talking about a broader, much broader perspective. I'm talking about, what if maybe there's a large chunk, like a large quantity of what's coming at us that's either exaggerated or altered. It's becoming so seamless. I mean, it's in the pockets of anybody, anywhere now, right? Like just the different programs that can be used and what you can make with it and how realistic. And so I would imagine that other people who have access were able to have what we're now experiencing for consumers several years ago. And so, yeah, this idea of these other worlds that are being promoted, right? Like, how much of it is real? And how do we navigate that? And what do we choose to engage with? What do we choose to believe in? What do we choose to empower? And there are many ways that I can go with this conversation. I really want to stay constructive, and I want to keep it actually a little concise today. So I was checking something. I posted to TikTok, and I was checking something because one of my posts just got a little larger than expected this past weekend. And I'm looking at it, and of course I swipe up and something else comes up, and I swipe again, and I wound up going down this short little rabbit hole with basically a well-known celebrity who seems to look very different and what have you. And that can seem somewhat innocent or benign, but in the context of what it's saying, it's basically like there are these people and these people have power over you, or they're doing things and they're tricking you. And I think that we are in the time of disclosure, so everything is coming to the surface on all levels, right? And it's a lot to deal with. But when I walked away from it, I just felt like ew, icky, you know? And I thought to myself, what do I want to do with this? And why did I attract this? Why did I come into contact with this when I usually don't come into contact with these things? And I know that TikTok has recently changed ownership, and I don't know if that was for the best. Although it was never a wonderfully run, app. But regardless, I choose to use these things to serve me. And also, too, it does bring me a lot of knowledge. It brings a lot of connection. There are things that I connect with or I find out about that I never would have that are wonderful. And so what I'm choosing and what I'm getting at here is I'm choosing to pull away from this a bit. I'm choosing to use it as a tool. And I'm choosing to also enjoy it sometimes. I do enjoy scrolling sometimes and finding things, right? That's why we get the little serotonin boost when you find something that's really good, and then you want to find something equally good or even better. But what I'm going to start doing is doing mini fasts. So taking off for the weekend, maybe not engaging with it from Friday night through to Monday morning. Or maybe once or twice because I do post during the weekend. I'm also too going to shut it down whenever I come across something that is not something that I wish to enhance or empower. And I want to get at something which I've mentioned before is where we put our focus is where we are, and we empower something and bring it into our experience. And so whether it's you're using the law of attraction or you're looking at from just a perspective of mind and of your own creation, but you cannot come into contact with something that you're not of resonance with. And the more that you concentrate on something, the more that you'll start seeing more of it. And I'm not saying to turn a blind eye to everything, but just to be selective. And so I am choosing for me to engage with that which is uplifting and empowering and nourishing and that is of assistance and that is encouraging well-being. I am engaging with things that are meaningful. I'm going to let celebrity and whoever they really are be a conversation for somebody else. I'm going to let the propagandas of war machines and those who wish to keep that going to let that be someone else's conversation and experience. My experience is going to be being in tune with nature more and more, much more heavily. I'm really digging into nature this year. And again, because we are nature, there's this, it's hard because we've grown up in this language, but of separation, but we are nature. And so getting into connection with Gaia, getting into connection with the birds that I mentioned and the trees and the different aspects of the natural world that we are a part of. And I am using technology to serve me right now, and to enhance my life and to connect. And there are wonderful things that it brings me. Even Amazon, which I don't love the company, it's wonderfully convenient and expansive. But I'm choosing to put most of my focus on the natural world because that's where I want to enhance. That's where I want to experience. That's what I want more of. That's what I want to send my energy to, as whether it's assistance or enhancement or a focus that it can use. And I would encourage everyone to consider your life in that way and consider your daily focuses and daily actions. Sometimes it's fun to watch like a scary movie, right? And sometimes it's fun to like, I don't know, have aspects of conversations that are not quite as light and easy as others, but we don't have to stay there, right? And so, yeah, especially with imagery. So I don't know why I brought that up, but I think that is a very different thing. I think again, the different experiences through the glass prism. So this is the phone, especially I think most so in our times. This is the phone. I think the next is the computer, and then I think after that is the television. And and that's the information that's coming. But if you look, all of these what could be considered problematic or troublesome actors out there, that's their mode of communication. And when you're even looking down certain said, conspiracies or truths, those are things that they've always looked to control, and Hollywood and whatever. And so this is when you have people in a trance and you are able to perceive or push certain ideas. Again, I don't want to go down, I want to be constructive with this, but I think that if you are gonna get a rise out of a horror movie where there's blood and killing and all kinds of things, I think that you're opening yourself up to aspects which I don't want to open myself up to. And I was someone who grew up with a boomer mom who allowed me to watch Poltergeist and Children of the Corn before the age of 7. So I've seen my share. But it does affect you on a psychological level, on a subconscious level. And those are not the inputs that I'm choosing to put in. I choose to put healthy food, and I choose to put nourishment in different ways, and I choose to meditate, and I choose to put uplifting music and be aware of my thoughts. So why would I allow someone else to program me for 30 minutes or even an hour or two with things that are ugly of the worst imagination? I think for most of us who have seen Jaws, I haven't seen it since I was a little kid in the 80s. I still think of it when I go in the ocean, which is so ridiculous because I love the ocean so much. But, it's deep-seated. And so, yeah, edit what you're allowing to come in and be really mindful when it comes through a glass screen. What you're choosing to believe, what you're choosing to concentrate on, what you're choosing to experience. And if it's something that you care about and there are people who are actively trying to push against or protect, get involved to the most that you can. Get involved. And that's a wonderful aspect of it. But there's a lot of manipulation out there. And I don't know, I just have seen an uptick of it, especially on TikTok recently. And it's really interesting because I thought it would have been less so since the ownership was changed recently. So it's really interesting that it seems like it's, in my view, gone a little darker. I don't know if that's by accident, but regardless, use it for your benefit. How do you want to benefit from it? What do you want to extract from it? What do you want your life to look like? Concentrate on those things. How would you like it to be? I really care about the birds down the block. I really want them to thrive. I really want the trees to thrive and the nature. And I love that it's spring and everything's coming alive. And there are all of these wildflowers coming up in the grasses around my house. And it's really wonderful. And so the blue skies, I'm so thankful when the skies are blue and the clouds are natural, right? Concentrate on what you want more of and focus on that and maybe allow other things to be what they are. I think these Epstein files are a key component to this time of disclosure, and there are many layers, and more information is constantly coming out and being found. But watch how deeply you engage with this, and watch how salacious and how energetically and emotionally caught up you can be. You know, if you feel it in your gut, maybe it's time to turn it off or to not dip any deeper. You can have an overview. I would say, I would encourage maybe taking a bird's eye view, understand the framework. Does it really benefit your life to know the nitty gritty and all of the ugliest details, right? It's like looking at a serial killer's memoirs and reading them with depth, like his diaries. It's like, does that really benefit you? Why are you choosing to have that as part of your experience? Why are you choosing to delve so deeply? You can understand without knowing every aspect. And I do think that other people delving into that, I think somebody delving into that is really useful in sharing the information, but it's how it's shared, right? It's that salacious, like getting everybody excited when there's the music in the background. You know what I'm speaking about when you're using the, the music from TikTok or whatever creates the mystery or something. That's not necessary, even if it's a little wonky or ugly or dark. That just adds to it. They've known about that, since the early 1900s, the deeply psychological aspects to different music, but also musical tones and how that affects us. So watch for that, just because it's common and we're all used to hearing, there's a couple, like 2 or 3 songs that they always play. And those are some wonky songs in and of themselves. They actually affect your physicality. With that, I'm going to leave off as just, I hope that you got something out of this and that this was, helpful and useful. And really, I want to move forward in this world that we're in, this crazy world where so many things are changing. And I think that we're moving into a really wonderful time. And we are each best served using this crazy, chaotic moment into our advantage of just using our input and shaping what we're seeing and shaping what we're focusing on and sending our energy to what's wanted rather and kind of starving because they've been trying to get our energy for so long, our attention for so long. Obviously they benefit from it, right? You have the eye, right? The all-seeing eye. And so what we're all seeing is giving attention to that, whether it's a celebrity up there on stage or it's, things in the news. So be careful of what you're choosing to send your energy to and then choose consciously. I'm choosing to send it to wildflowers and ospreys and wonderful things. I'm Vince Jameson, and once again, I'm always here reminding you of all that you already are and all that you are already connected to. Until next time.